Hello, my friends, and good morning from Da Nang, Vietnam. So, of course, just like pretty much anywhere at this point, there's plenty of content out there talking about life in Vietnam, vacation in Vietnam, etc. I watched some of that myself. And one thing that I noticed, there was quite a few people when talking about the comparison between Vietnam and Thailand. There was quite a few people talking about how much cheaper Vietnam is than Thailand. In today's video, we're going to discuss the actual realities, not little random one-off things that might be cheaper here or might be cheaper in Thailand. We're going to figure that out today. We're going to go through everything: hotels, food, transportation, you name it. I got you covered. So as of right now, after checking my handy dandy pocket computer, 1,000 baht translates to about 800,000 Vietnamese dong. Essentially, if something costs 100,000 dong, that's relatively about 100 baht. Of course, just given the translation I just gave you, that's not correct, but it at least helps it get you in the ballpark. So when you do first land and you're seeing things that cost 200,000, 300,000 dong, don't get too worried about it, because realistically it's not a whole lot. It can be pretty easy to be intimidated, but that goes both ways too. So if you get that in your brain where you're like, oh, 200,000 is nothing, and then before you know it, you're looking at 800,000 or a million, and you're kind of convincing yourself it's not at least a decent little chunk of money, that's a start. So we're gonna get started with a coffee here in a minute, and then we'll hop into one of the biggest expenditures you're probably gonna have if you come here. Well, maybe depending on who you are, but something that pretty much everybody is gonna need to do, and that's hotels. We are coffeeed up. I'll tell you what, too, if you are a coffee person, man, it is amazing here. Don't get me wrong, like, you can find good coffee in Thailand too, but here it's just like you cannot miss. It's pretty wild. But caffeine aside, let's talk hotels. Honestly, this is one of the things I was the most surprised by when I started planning on coming here for the first time. Of course, you can still find cheap hotels in Thailand if you're comparing them to back home in the West, America, Europe, wherever. Hotels are still very affordable in Thailand, but especially here in Da Nang, I'm not too sure about, Hanoi or any of the other big cities. I would assume it's the same because there's just more hotels there. It kind of honestly blew my mind how cheap they were. Now, granted, the first time I came, I was pretty much, smack dab in the middle of the rainy season, so things were very cheap then. That's another thing, they actually fluctuate here too. But even this time when it's more of, the busy season, they are still super affordable. So I am paying about 500 baht a night right now. The location could not be any better. I'm like 45-second walk from the beach. If you'd like to see some more details on the place I'm actually staying, hop back to the previous video I just uploaded, and then we dive into a little bit more showing the hotel, things like that. I gotta tell you, at least when it comes to the quantity of very affordable places here, it does seem like cheap hotels are a bit more readily available here in Da Nang, at least. Of course you can dig and you can find really good cheap stays in Thailand, but sometimes, when you try to go a little too cheap, you end up paying for it. And I have only stayed at, budget hotels here, pretty much like 600 baht or less a night. And I have never been disappointed. Granted, I'm not very fancy. If you're somebody who likes to stay, in real fancy hotels, it's probably not going to be that cheap for you. My pretty much only stipulations are have it be clean, no bugs, and good air con. But If you like a little bit more, whether it be amenities or just a fancier room, you're probably gonna have to pay a little bit more than that, but still, like the hotel prices here are honestly kind of insane. Now, after we've talked about hotel prices, I figured it was only informative if we also discussed condos. I'm sure there's some people who want to know what it costs to actually live here full time. Unfortunately, the thing with condos is it's really hard to get like an actual gauge of the overall market, of course. I mean, even in Thailand, it took me probably the better part of a year to really start figuring out where to look for condos and like what to expect price-wise. And I did do some looking here, and from what I saw, for the most part, it seems like condo prices are about the same as they would be in Thailand for like the same type of unit. I did see some stuff that was a bit cheaper, but without going and looking at all those rooms, it's so hard to tell. One thing about Asia, both with hotels and condos, is I need to know who their photographer is, because a lot of the time the photos are absolutely amazing, and then you show up and it's not really what it looked like in the pictures. I would say, you know, if you look at very comparable condos with, you know, sought after locations, both here and Bangkok or Pattaya even, I think things are about the same. They might be like 10 to 15% cheaper here. And then the other thing I wasn't really able to nail down, you know, for a fact when it comes to condos here is deposits, right? So for the most part, I did see it kind of works the same way as Thailand. First and last month's rent, then you pay your initial one. So it's 3 months to get into a place. But I did see some other places that weren't asking for that. There was only 1 month. I didn't see any with 2 months. It kind of seemed like it was 1 or 3, but for the most part, condos look very affordable here. And but the process and all that, honestly, I really have no idea. In Thailand, it's very easy. If you've got the money, you got your passport, you're in there. I am not sure if it's the same here. If it is or isn't, if you know, if you've rented before in Da Nang or Vietnam as a whole, please let us know down in the comments. Pretty much completely unrelated to our topic of today's video though. I gotta tell you, the beach here is nice, man. I liked living in Pattaya for a lot of reasons. Obviously Bangkok, there is no beach. Well, I guess technically there is, but there isn't. If you know, you know. But yeah, Pattaya, it's not really known for its, you know, nice beaches. Pratumnak is okay, but besides that, you're pretty burnt. As opposed to here, man, it's a beautiful beach. The sand is actually really nice and soft. There's waves, which is nice. It smells like the ocean, which is nice. There's actual free public restrooms. Actually, I don't know if they're free, but from what I saw, they appear to be. But there's access to public restrooms, which is nice. If you've spent time in Pattaya or Thailand as a whole, really, you're on the beach drinking beers and you got to pee every 10 minutes like I do, it ends up being a bit of a nightmare. All right, and of course, if you're going anywhere, you're gonna need to get around, right? So transportation costs here. It's a little bit different from what I've seen in most of Thailand. I haven't seen like the Song Taos or the Bot Bus, whatever you wanna call it. I haven't seen any of that, but there are plenty of Grab drivers and taxis. And from what I can tell, I'm pretty sure the Grabs here are insanely cheap. So I took one from the airport to my hotel, which I think I remember seeing it was about like 4 or 5 kilometers. It wasn't very far, but I had forgotten that on my Grab app, my bank card was listed. So when I pulled up, I was getting ready to pay the guy and I had already done it on my card, which I usually try to avoid, but it wasn't that big of a deal. So I went and checked this morning out of curiosity just to see how much that was. And I'm pretty sure I looked at the right transaction. I think it was like 17 baht from the airport, which if that is correct, that's pretty wild. That is insanely cheap. And then also, I haven't done it this time, but the last time I was here, I did rent a motorbike with my buddy. And from the most part, it seems to be around 100,000 to 130,000 a day, depending on the bike you get. And then of course, if you rent for longer, you can get better deals, yada, yada, yada. But so 100,000, I'm pretty sure that's around like maybe 120 baht a day, which is super affordable. Okay. Oh shit. Sand is hot. Sand is really hot. It's a long beach. We got a long way to go. Holy shit. Sand is so hot. Oh God. Oh God. Come on. Oh. That's much better. And I'll tell you, man, don't get me wrong. I don't want this video to seem like I'm like knocking or I don't like Thailand. I love Thailand. But the beach here, especially the water, it's like Thailand is really nice if you're spending a lot of time in the water because it's nice and warm. Here, it's still warm, but it's not hot. It doesn't feel like bath water, you know? It's actually like cool and really refreshing. I really like it here. And the cool thing about this beach too is it's absolutely massive. You're not gonna be able to tell on camera, I don't think, but literally all the way to the horizon. So I'm sure, especially if you drove down the beach ways, you could probably find some spots where you'd essentially be all by yourself. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate booty with the best of them. I love me like a good looking beach booty, right? I think a lot of the tourists here are European. And this one girl was just laying down getting some sun. And she had on a skimpy bikini, to say the least. I'm pretty sure I saw the back of her teeth. I'm not gonna try to film it. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. If you want to go out and swim, or if you have kids, something like that, it's nice to know they could go out and swim and not have to worry about some tourist bombing in on a jet ski and hitting them, you know? And they've also got lifeguards here too, which makes sense with this water. I mean, if you do have kids, you want to come here, this is a very beautiful beach and it's pretty chill for the most part, but I've seen some pretty big waves here already. So if you've got kids that, you know, you guys haven't spent a lot of time around the ocean, just make sure you're being careful, of course. Keep an eye on them. Don't let them go out too deep, because I've had the unfortunate experience of watching a mom and a dad. I mean, I swear, it was in San Diego. They turned around for maybe 45 seconds, and then they had a little boy who was probably 4, maybe 5 years old, and he was gone. I helped the lifeguards and everybody. We looked all day with him. I mean, we didn't find him that day. I'm pretty sure they never found him though. So always respect the ocean. All right, now that I've jibber jabbered enough about random stuff and ocean safety, I don't know what I'm talking about. But let's get back to the topic at hand, right? We're talking prices, we're talking money. A big one for me, anytime I'm going somewhere, whether it be a new city, a new country, you name it, one of my biggest expenditures always is food/entertainment. Food and beer, pretty much, right? And for the most part, Thailand is still very affordable, but especially when it comes to Western food, if you've spent any time in Thailand, you know if you're going to buy, you know, burgers or whatever, most of the time you're gonna get absolutely taxed. To the point where, I mean, my favorite burger place in Bangkok, it's pretty much the same price as it would be back home. It's that good, it's a nice treat, but the last time I was here, as well as this time, I've made a deliberate effort to go and eat the same types of food that I would normally eat in Bangkok just to see. And from what I've seen, of course, Western food here is still at a premium compared to the local food. But for the most part, when you compare it to Bangkok or most of Thailand for that matter, it does end up being quite a bit cheaper. Just for reference, I went to a burger place night before last. Got some really nice big old thing of French fries, double smash burger with bacon and all that. And I got a soda too. And after everything, I think it came out to the equivalent of I think it was like 220 baht, which, you know, as far as meals go in Southeast Asia is pretty expensive. But when it comes to especially beef, cheese, things like that in Thailand, you're gonna get absolutely rinsed. And for the most part, from what I've seen here, when it comes to the Western food, you can expect to pay a little bit less. You can get the same level of Western food here, and it ends up probably being about 30 to even 40% cheaper sometimes. When it comes to the local food, I mean, that's even on another level. Thai food is dirt cheap, of course, And from what I've seen, the Vietnamese food here is about the same. And it's pretty wild. Last time I was here, came in November, I ended up having to buy a jacket and sweatpants. And this time, it's hot, dude. It's not really bad right now because I got my feet in the water, which feels really nice. But like walking over here or walking around over by the hotel, I saw it was like 35 degrees today, which is, it's hot, man. So just like in Thailand, there's a couple of boats here doing parasailing where they hook you up to the parachute and take you up behind the boat, right? I'm not really crazy about heights, but I was thinking about it. I was like, over the water, it's really pretty today. Like maybe that's something I would enjoy. Not that I'm gonna do it, but I was like kind of thinking about it. Like, yeah, maybe I would. And then I'm watching and the first boat goes out and it looks like normal. The second boat goes out and these people went so high. I swear they had to be like 300 feet off the water. Maybe not, maybe like 200, but still super high. And then as I'm watching, I'm like, oh shit, they're falling. They're coming down towards the water, coming down towards the water. The boat guy deliberately slowed down to the point where he dunked them in the water and then took off again and sent them back up to like 200 feet again. I would never. Now, another thing to consider when we're talking about price differences today, I have spent a grand total of, I think 7 days, maybe 8 in Vietnam and maybe 5 of those in Da Nang at this point. So I don't really know. I'm a tourist here, right? I'm essentially just paying for what I see when I see it. Even when I went to Thailand, like the first 6 months to even a year that I was there, I spent way more money than I needed to. Once you spend some more time in a place, you go a few times, you start to learn where you can save money. You start to find the food spots you like that are cheap. So that is also something to consider. If it's your first time in Asia and you come here, you might spend a little bit more money just because you don't know, where to save those extra ducats. But I believe we covered the major ones. If there is anything else price-wise that you are, curious about when it comes to Vietnam, or any questions at all for that matter, if we didn't cover them, feel free to just drop them down in the comments. I will do my best to let you know if I know. And of course, we've got this whole entire community that, watches these videos, a lot of very informed people. But for me right now, I'm gonna boogie back to the hotel and go put some sunscreen on and hopefully lose this shirt so I don't have the wildest tan lines for the next 6 months. And I'm ready to go swimming. Can't really take you guys with me because of the camera. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring my GoPro because worst YouTuber ever. Go for a bit of a swim. I can't even remember the last time I went swimming, and that used to be my thing when I was a kid. So we're gonna get that taken care of. Don't worry, we'll have plenty more to see from Vietnam over the next few days here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being here. See you in the next video.